you are welcome to today's session, and as rightly shown on your screen, today's topic is all about auditing user access to resources for using SolarWinds Access Right Manager. My name is Titilope Bello once again. I'm a technical service and support manager here in Ha-Shem. I've been with Ha-Shem for about 10 years now, plus. I have different certification with different OEMs, the likes of SolarWinds. I'm a SolarWinds certified professional. Microsoft, I'm a very passionate IT professional on Microsoft solutions and technology. I have certification also with Cisco and so forth. These are just a few of my credentials. And here is my LinkedIn link address. You can reach me there. You can connect with me anytime. So what's in the agenda for today? We are going to first try to understand when you hear the word identity and access management, what comes to mind. We'll be able to say a little or give a little insight to that. And what are the big questions in the mind of any CSO out there, any audit personnel out there, or even the risk personnel, or even the business owners themselves? What are the big questions they are asking around data security? We are going to be able to provide a few insights to some of these questions and hopefully answer them for you with SolarWinds Access Right Manager. We will also be able to talk about a few features or key features rather of SolarWinds ARM, because you can ask, why SolarWinds? Why not any other solution that are out there? Yes, what we are talking about today is SolarWinds Right Manager, Access Right Manager. Then we will discuss briefly on the benefits, and then we can then move to what we always like, which is a bit demo on the solution, and we'll give you room to ask questions and provide answers to your various questions that you might have. Okay, so like I said earlier, when you hear the word identity management, access management, what comes to mind? These two words, most of the time, or these two terms or phrase, most of the time, we often confuse them for one another. But then there are two distinctive processes within any organization. So if we talk about identity management have to do with user identity themselves. Any business, the way by which any business or organization chooses to manage or identify its users across whatever resources they have provided for those users is what we call identity management. The main purpose of identity management is just all about authentication. For it to be, an identity management should be able to tell any business owner, any data owner that, oh, yes, this user is whom he say he is. That is just the main purpose of identity management, authentication. Access management, on the other hand, there are processes and technologies used to control and monitor access to various network resources within an organization. Now, any access management solution should have the characteristics or the capability to authorize user. We're not talking about authentication now. Authentication is being taken care of by identity management. But access management should be able to authorize user. After a user has been authenticated, proving that he is the user he claimed to be, what does this user have access to? He should be able to take care of the trusting aspects of a resource or a user access to a resource. You should be able to give the capability or the ability for you to audit whatever activity a user or an identity has performed on a particular resource that is given access to. And a good access management solution should be able to monitor users or monitor identity or monitor resources or audit resources across boundaries, irrespective of where your data is being hosted, whether they are hosted on-prem or they are hosted in the cloud. So what comes to mind of a lot of people out there, like the CSO, the risk people, the audit people, the business owner, data owner? What comes to mind? What are the questions they ask? Most of the time, we find ourselves asking questions like, do I have visibility into everyone's access right, into what people are doing? How do I grant access faster and more accurately to the resources that users require? How do I improve compliance if I'm required of providing such? Maybe my business require us to be compliant with certain rule or certain government policy that governs our businesses, irrespective of what the business type is. We should be able to you ask the further question by, how could I view compliance reports and easily provide these reports to people who need access to them? How can I automate user provisioning and deprovisioning? A user resumed today, maybe it's the work of the HR for them to provision this user. They already told the IT team, we are expecting new set of employees so week. So is it the responsibility of this HR person to provision this user account? Do you have a different department who is in charge of provisioning this account? Or is it the workload of the IT personnel or the IT team to make sure that when these users resume, they have their identity ready for them, they have their PC, the resources they need access to, everything is intact? You need a solution or to be able to do that. Then another question you also ask is, how do I analyze even the permission that has been assigned to users across all assets within an enterprise? And finally, how can I automate exchange auditing reporting? I think I've made mention of that earlier. But the good thing is, or the truth about all of this is, it doesn't have to be this difficult. It doesn't have to be this hard for you to get the necessary report and audits that you need on user access. But then, here comes another set of questions. Now, I understand that I need a solution to help me manage user access, to help me audit whatever user is doing, to help me report, to help me meet compliance. But then, which solution is out there? Which solution can I choose that will satisfy all of these requirements that I have? I want to be able to manage users not only within the whatever directory, user directory you are using or user identity management you are using, which majorly all organizations or most organizations have Active Directory in their environment. Now, when you create a user in Active Directory, you may have file server, you may have Exchange server, you may have other applications that you need to give access to for these users that you are, or this identity that you have created within your Active Directory. So you need a tool that should have the capability to manage and audit user access across each of these resources. Now, what about drilling down into the detail of what exactly the users are doing? You want to be able to quickly and accurately provision or deprovision the user. We talk about new user onboarding process, for instance, the other time. You want to easily enforce company security policies. Maybe the way you used to do things before was different. Now there's a new rule or there's a new policy that's now come on board and say you must be able to apply this right. No users, maybe for instance, users who have access to their file server, The file they created, they should have access to it. However, they should not be able to delete it. Or maybe from a particular shared drive or particular file server where you have departmental share. You want user to create, you want user to modify, to edit whatever I said they have created on that particular file server. But each time they want to delete, somebody somewhere should approve that that particular activity or that particular action. They shouldn't just be able to delete anything from that server. You want to be able to set a data loss prevention strategy in place. So, like, let's say, for instance, for some organizations, especially financial organizations, they are asked that certain email or log from certain applications should not be deleted for such a number of years. You want to be able to prevent user from deleting such thing. You want to be able to delegate certain rights. Oh, so you have HR. HR should be able to have access to say they are provisioning, they are creating the user because they know the users that are coming in, they have their detail, they will provision the user, add them to the necessary group that they should belong to, and then even update, or at some point, maybe at interval, your HR people or manager or staff need to go into the Active Directory to update certain properties of user, like phone number, user has changed their phone number, email address have changed, or some things, or user got married and you need to change all of this detail. You need to be able to delegate some of this. So a good access management solution should give you this ability. Now, for all of the questions that we have asked so far, SolarWinds Access Right Manager is there to fulfill each of these questions. Why? Because it is designed with every organization of all size in mind. You want to perform a small task, maybe your organization, you don't have large number of users, but still managing user access and what they have rights to is still a big challenge. Or you'll be doing it manually. You can actually go for SolarWinds Access Right Manager. Or you're a big organization that your company is so large, 1,000, 10,000 users, and this has been a big challenge. You don't even know which user is sharing data with which other user. You don't know who is sharing file with who. You don't know which department is crossing over to which other department to come on. Or you have forgotten some assets that you've granted at some point based on request, and everybody has forgotten that those assets still exist. Meanwhile, they're supposed to have been removed. So SolarWinds Access Right Manager give you the ability to be able to perform this, quickly monitor and audit user access, changes they made to particular resources, generate reports, and provide even this report to audit team or even the compliance team for them to review. Now, what are the key features of SolarWinds Access Right Manager? One of its features is the ability to monitor and audit changes to Active Directory objects. So whether the admin who even have rights to be able to make changes, is he making the right changes? Is he using the power that I have? Is he using it to, okay, yes, a friend of this is in which other department and that friend have come to say, oh, can you give me access to so resources? I'm not supposed to, he's not supposed to have access to it, but yet he went ahead to do that. So SolarWinds Access Right Manager allow you to be able to monitor each of these changes in Active Directory and then reports on them. Also, it's able to alert on unauthorized change of access or changes to Windows file server or file services or file and folders that have been shared with people. You are able to alert on them and able to take the necessary actions on each of those action that those users have taken. You are able to analyze for exchange. You are able to analyze the rights and permission a user have on maybe any other user's mailbox. So say for instance, a boss that gave his subordinate maybe right over his mailbox. Now this user or the subordinate have left the organization, but there's somebody else who have come in. Now the access to the ex staff has been given to somebody to monitor in case a may come in there. But the IT person have forgotten that there was a right that's supposed to be retrieved from that particular mailbox, meaning the third party who now have access to the ex-staff mailbox also have access to maybe the boss's or the CEO's mailbox. So you are able to see this and you are able to revoke each of those access from within access rights management. You are able to provision users right from access management tool into the Active Directory. You are able to modify, you are able to enable and disable user. You are able to enable a user for a mailbox. You are able to manage group membership, and then you are able to comply with whatever regulatory requirement you need to meet with your auditor. And all of this, what it all gives you is what we call improved data security across your organization. So what are the benefits of access right manager? We have talked a lot about some of those benefits, even from the few slides that we showed earlier. You are able to easily analyze user access rights across your IT infrastructure. What do I mean by this? Analyzing user access right is not limited to just the Active Directory. It's not limited to even your local Active Directory. Some of us could say, oh, we have AD, Azure AD, we have our on-premise AD is extended to Azure AD. Am I still able to monitor the users who are created purely in the cloud? Yes, you can. Am I able to create user directly into Azure AD and assign license to the user accordingly? Yes, you can. So with SolarWinds Access Right Management, you can quickly generate reports for your compliance team. You can quickly review the risk that is the risk associated with whatever resources, whatever access a user have on a particular resources. You are able to easily create account, review permissions, see nested group, see direct access. Sometimes you create a folder and then, or let me say you create a user, you add a user to multiple groups, and then you create a resource. You give different groups to access to this resource, and also you pick that individual user and give. That means the user have what we call direct access one. Then you have access within group and other group and other group. It means each time you need to revoke that user access, you need to be aware that the user access is not just removing the user from one group, but the two show you on a single pane everywhere and every group that the user belongs to, so you can take the necessary action and informed decision right from there. You are able to perform those actions in a very timely fashion or manner, and then it reduces the work on IT. And then there's one key of nice feature that is there. It's called self-service portal. Self-service portal allow your users to be able to log into the self-service portal and ask for access on particular resource or make their request. And then the IT, or based on approval, they can then come in and give that access to that user. So that way you monitor, you know the time the user have the access. You are able to even keep the history of all the changes that have changed or that user made on that particular resource that you share with the user. So let's talk a little bit about licensing option. For SolarWinds ARM, you have two varieties. One of them is just auditing. if what you require is just to audit what users are doing only, then you can go for the auditing part of it or auditing license. But if you then decide, okay, I think just auditing is not enough, can we just do what we call risk management? We want to be able to provision user. We want to be able to get the concept of data owner. What do we mean by this? If you are able to identify who is the owner of a particular data, and even an administrator try to give access to the data to somebody else, before that access is granted, the data owner needs to approve it, whether I want to give that access or not. So then the self-service portal that I talk about, and then the license is sold based on number of active users in your Active Directory. But then if you have a very large number of users and probably you want to start small, you can actually start small by purchasing a small license, but you have to restrict it using what we call OU-based filtering to say, okay, this license will only be able to manage this set of users and other users will be left unmanaged until you are able to purchase additional license. And if you look at the screen, you will see the different technologies that the tools support. Your Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, file server. The file server now is not only a window, cuts across Windows, EMC, NetApp, even your SharePoint. SharePoint Online, SharePoint On-Prem, Exchange Online, Exchange On-Prem, Teams, OneDrive for Business, even SAP. These are the different resources or different technologies you can bring into your SolarWinds Access Right Manager. And this list is still growing. So the production on it is not stopping. Yes, I think it's enough of all of those talking. Now let's go to demo. I'm just going to quickly reshare my screen, or let me know. Can you see? Can you see my desktop? Okay. All right. Thank you. So installing SolarWinds Access Right Management is very easy. Not that easy anyway. So before they will say, oh, this is not a technical person speaking. Yes, there's always the need for you to set up the service, for you to do the necessary initial configuration before you start utilizing the solution. So it sits on, the solution sits majorly on the SQL. It uses SQL for its database, and it uses Windows right from supported version of operating system is from Server 2008 upward. Sorry, 2008 release 2 upward. Then SQL supports SQL from 2012 upward of SQL as well. And it has different components. It has the desktop component that allow you to do the configuration, while it has the web component. That is where the self-service portal is located. So maybe we may treat that for another time. But I've already set up everything from my, hold on, please. I've set up the environment, and then I have a few users within my domain. What do I have? I have my domain controller. I have an Exchange server. I have a file server running on another separate server. I have the tool itself is running on there, and I have a client computer. Also, just like I said, that you can also monitor resources across or resources that are hosted in the cloud. I also have my Office 365 tenants, which have an Azure Active Directory, Exchange Online, Teams, and the SharePoint Online, though I've only brought a few of those resources in. So let's say we've finished setting it up and we just want to quickly onboard those resources and start monitoring them. You have a tool called SolarWinds ARM configuration, or Configurator Radar. So this is the home page of that configurator tool. So now I want to bring on board, that's why I said you have to do a field configuration before you start using the services. But I've done that initially. So I'm just going to start scanning my resources. So right here, I've brought in my Active Directory. So the Active Directory, you have the option of bringing Active Directory resource. So I just click this. Clicking this to bring Active Directory is going to search. But if you cannot find anything, you can type the name or the IP of your resource. Lab ADC, lab AC01. So, okay, so the thing is, yes. So this is my domain controller. You pick it. When you pick it that way, because I've already added it, I'm not going to be able to add it. But this is all you need to do at this place. Just select that resource and then select the collector. Now, the good thing about this solution is it doesn't require you to install agent on each of those servers or resources that you want to monitor. It's agentless. So you don't have to start deploying agents to computers on the network. So I've searched for it. Let's just assume I'm adding it afresh. I'll click apply. Then the access you need for your Active Directory, if you can give it a domain admin right, that's sufficient. But if not, you can then, there are custom permissions that you can apply to it. So I'll just close this page and show you what's available when you are adding a resource to so here are all the properties of this Active Directory. You need to tell the domain that you want to scan. The default, by default, it gives you a daily scanning option. So it means it's going to be scanning it every day. Now you can decide to change this scanning interval. You can change it to weekly, you can change it to monthly, you can change it to quarterly or yearly, depending. And you can change the time. It has set the time by default. I didn't change it to 10 p.m. So you can change the time. What if you want to do it on demand? So that means you are not going to schedule it. Every time you need to bring on board new users and changes, you have to come and run it manually. So that's the option you can choose, whether you want to do a scheduled scan or you want to do an on-demand scan. Then it will ask you for an account that you can use to discover that particular resource or to perform the scan on that particular server that you have brought on board. While this is your agent, your collector rather, which is this server where the SolarWinds ARM is installed on. When you see here, it said maximum 4 parallel requests, meaning if you have a large, if your environment, if your Active Directory is very large, where you need to bring thousands of users on board, you can increase the number of these parallel requests. So it's going to make it faster. However, it's also going to tell on the resources available on the server. So you leave it as default if your environment is not large. But if it's large, you can take it even up to 64 processes. But like I said, that is dependent on the resources available on your server that you are using to scan. Now, you are also saying in the event of error, maybe the server become unavailable and then you are not able to reach that particular server that you are trying to scan to bring that resource on board. You can set how many times the ARM can try to go and rescan and make attempt to bring this, and then how much delay interval you want to put also into that. If you scan now, it will wait for the next, and fail rather, it will wait for the next 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it retries. You wait for another 10 minutes, there's a failure. After maximum of 3 tries, it doesn't try again. It stops until you correct whatever the error is. Then Changes, if you have to make changes in Active Directory, like you want to create a user, you want to update user information and the rest, which account can you use? So you can specify your account that you'll be using to make those changes right from the ARM console here. Then it will ask you if you are to be using this tool right now to provision new users, which OU do you want the user that you are creating to be going into? The moment you click it, it gives you the tree of all your OU and container that you have within your Active Directory. So you can select which one is it that you want the user to be created in each time a user is created from within ARM console. Likewise for group, and then likewise for group. Then when you say recycle, you can specify an OU also where you want to move users. Maybe these users have they are no longer in the organization, but you don't want to delete them yet and all of that. You can move them out of a particular OU and move them into another OU. And then look at this option here for group as well. You can specify a folder, but there's additional property here that say, for how do you identify users or account, group rather, that are created from the ARM console? You can specify a prefix if you want, but if you don't specify prefix, it will create it exactly the way you create it. So if your environment require you to, if you want to create a group for you to identify which department is it that you are creating that group for, but if it's a generic one, you can set it. But if it's not, you might want to leave this empty and specify that at the point of creation. So once you bring in an Active Directory, it also asks you if you have resources that you want to link to that particular Active Directory that you are bringing on board. Among the resources is file server and then Exchange. It's not compulsory you do this. You can also bring those resources separately on their own, which is what I have done. If you don't want a resource to be scanned anymore, you just click the delete button and it will remove that resource from the environment. When you click the delete, however, it asks you a question of, do you want to delete the resource permanently or you want to be able to restore it later? So you have the option to select from. So that's how we are able to bring in Active Directory. The same way, go for any other resource, like this is my, okay, so if you have to bring in Azure AD, there are different things you need to do on that. You need to create application registration on your Active Directory, on your Azure AD portal, and then create certificate, client certificate, and the rest. So then you now be able to, sorry for that. So that's that. So you need to just prepare the environment. The same thing for file server. These are the different resources that I've brought in. This is my Teams. This is a resource Exchange Online. You will see it's carrying on Microsoft. That tells you that it's not a local resource, and this is my local Exchange server. So the same settings you need to go through for each of them. Now I've brought in my resources. I want to start administering them. So I need to open another tool, a tool called, the first one I open now is ARM Configurator. I need to now open the Access Right Manager console itself, which is this, where we are right now. So let's see, if you go to the start here, this is when you log in for the first time, this is where you will always be landed. It will land you on the home page where you have quick link that you can use to quickly access some things around. So let's say you want to quickly generate or analyze users and group with their access. You can just click it. It will automatically take you to the different pages where you will be able to see each of those. So, but let's try and see how we can do a few things around here. the first thing I'm going to be doing is I want to be able to identify the permission of a particular user. I have a user called test user. I have a few users anyway, but I will start with, I want to check the permission. So what I need to do is, you can search from here. Once you search, it will bring that user out for you. The user I'm using here is user 1. So under user here, you will see every user that have that similar name. But I'll just go to resources. So from my resources, I'm going to I can search here now. I can either scroll, select the user, as if I know the OU where the user is, I can scroll and select that user. But I will just, go back to home page. And just like I said, if you decide to search from the home page here, and it gives you that user, bringing it out again. Okay. So the moment you select, just in case, the moment you select user 1, for instance, it takes you. Okay. So we're just taking time. It takes you to the account page of that particular user. Now, from here, you can already see this user have some kind of access on this user on Active Directory. It has access to Exchange, meaning it has a mailbox. It has access to ADC server 2, that's file server. So here you can be able to see by selecting this user, and it will tell you automatically where the user have access to. Sorry, that is loading a bit. The resource on my server is quite low. Okay, I think this is taking time. Let me try and do something else, because we can always come back there. Oh yes, yeah. Okay, so from here you can see the user. The user have Exchange, like I said, it's still the same thing that we have here. So now I bring it for you as a graph, so you can be able to see at a glance where the user have access to. So what if I want to see a resource? I want to see who have access to what resource. I can go back to the home page. There's a link here called who has access where. So the moment I click this link, it automatically give me page to customize that report if I want to. I will just select a particular user, a resource rather. So I can pick this, my file server. I want to pick public, just drag and drop. Okay, then I can set other things. This level means to what level should it go? How much deeper should it go? So it's to this one say this is saying indefinite or infinite. So it should go as deep as possible to get each of those resources out for me. Then you can also tell what details you want to be able to retrieve for that particular user. You want to be able to filter. You can filter whether you want it to show, if it has to do with Exchange, whether it's to show public folder or not. The groups that the user belongs to, you want it to be able to show each of those attributes, the different group the user belongs to. And how should it show it? Should it show it based on exactly the way it will be listed in Active Directory, or you want another option, you can select each of those. This is also automatically a way to create your own custom report if you don't want to use what come on board with the solution. Then you can decide to choose here on what type of template or what file do you want to use to view this report when it comes. I only have PDF on the server, so I'm just going to click run. So it might take some time depending on the level of resource that we are trying to scan through. You'll be able to provide those, you'll be able to provide those things to you. But it's okay. Let me see if I have the sample one, because if it's taking longer. Previously open file. Okay, for user field. Okay, I think that's why it took so long. There's something wrong here. Maybe we'll come back to that because of time. That is just how you are going to generate and create your own report. Now, what if you want to change, you go to, let's say you want to be able to see what right a user have, maybe for instance, on a particular mailbox, or who have access to whose mailbox. We are going to expand here. We can pick, let's pick from Exchange Online. I'm going to pick this person here. And so once you select the particular mailbox, on the right pane, under the access right, you'll be able to see the different access. So this particular database, that's on Microsoft Server anyway, you will see that this mailbox, the mailbox is hosted on this, the mailbox is located on this particular database, and then who have access to that mailbox from that particular database. So if you notice here, the owner we have full right on it, and then there are some. So here you start be able to tell what and what user have right to what folder. So this the example I was giving the other time. If a user have been a boss have given his subordinate access to his mailbox, and then this user have left. If you have forgotten before, maybe their mailbox has not been disabled, you can easily select and see who have access to that particular mailbox, and then be able to revoke. Right from this pane also, you can check the properties of that particular mailbox, the quota, and any other thing that you want to check. Very quickly, you are going to be able to see item count, what type of mailbox is it. You can be able to say the user's email address settings and the rest. You can be able to tell the property of each of those resources. Now, let's go to the dashboard. Sorry, I want to go to the graph here. Now, let's say a change has been made on a particular user. I'm going to search for this user, have test user. Okay, so now let's say a change has been, you want to know the changes that have been done on a particular user mailbox. So currently, sorry, I will use this guy. This guy was created today. So, and then it was also enabled right from within this application. Right now, you can see it's right, as we said, this is a mailbox resource. If you look right now under account with permission, you can be able to see, and it's going to tell you which account have multiple path access to a particular, to maybe any resource. You can decide to say, oh, why is this account appearing? So this is part of what will tell you that this user does not, removing a particular right does not mean the user will not have access anymore. It means the user have, through this multiple access, it means the user have access from other area of that particular, from other area, and then it's required to be reviewed. Now, what if you want to monitor, you want to know the changes that has been done? Let me leave mailbox environment. Let's go to Active Directory, for instance. So I'm going to be selecting the user. Okay, I have 2 users here. At some point, the user was created. If you right click on this user, you will see some other actions that you can perform on the user. Like if you want to change the password of a user. So this can also be used for service request where user forget their password and they need to reset it. So the moment you choose reset a user password, it's going to give you this page, and then you can set it. You can either decide to put in a password or allow this. Now, this password that is generated here is configurable. There's a place where you need to go and configure what default password you want to be generated to the user, and you can decide to hide it. Now, the same way when you are resetting a user password in Active Directory, where you can check for them to change their own password at next logon, or account get locked, you want to unlock the account. The same thing you can do here, and you can tell the length of the password that the user, if he must change his password, he must meet at least 8 characters long. Then, before you can save this is how ARM also keep track of who is making changes. Because before you can change this, you have to put a request to change. You have to put a comment. Without the comment, you cannot, you will not be allowed to save the changes. Request to change password. Then now the moment you do that, it's going to enable this other button apart from the close button. You notice the first thing is checked there is to make this change immediately. You can decide to make the change at the background, do it overnight, or schedule it to take place at a particular time, or save it for you to resume on it later. So I'm just going to say, with this pilot user 2, I'm just going to say change password immediately, but that's just how to do it. We won't go further. Now, if you look at a particular resource and you see this icon is everywhere on that particular user, you see this icon is to just quickly give you a view of what and what has changed, or what action, what activity has been performed on that particular device. That particular user. The same thing applies to resources. If it's a file server, a directory has been changed, you will see it here also. You can right click it, maybe you want to see more, and say open up in logbook. Logbook can also be found right on the top here. So here you see history of what and what has been changed. So if you check this, the new user was created with all of these new mailboxes. The user has been created before, I think. Yes, this is when the user was created, and then all the property that was given to it, and this is when the user's membership was changed. This user was made a member of sales group, and then later a mailbox was enabled for it. So here you are able to track the changes that has been done on a particular resource or a particular user within your environment. So let's see what else can we check. We have been able to check the property of a mailbox. We have been able to check the access on a mailbox. We have been able to maybe change a user's password and then there are other things, just like I said. And we were able to see a map of that particular user, or a particular user, to tell where and where that user belonged to. Pilot, to test pilot. Okay, test pilot 2. So we're able to see all of this. Now let's go to, let me go, for instance, let's say you want to see the, you want to be able to see a particular directory, maybe if any change has been done, or who have access to that particular directory. This is marketing, for instance. So I pick this marketing, and at a glance, I'm able to see under right management, I'm able to see the different permission. So this too does not only show the shared permission, it also shows the NTFS permission. So you're able to see where a permission in right might be a kind of abuse, maybe in the nearest future, and be able to revoke it. So if I say, for instance, I want to know who and who have full rights on this particular directory, I can expand. And from what I'm seeing, 2 users, the system and the administrator group, have full rights on the particular resource. So no user at any point to have full right to it. If you look down here also, you will see, because I selected full control, and it automatically showed me the users that are having full control to this marketing directory. If you go to the read and execute part of it, you will see a group. This is the marketing group. Marketing group have read and execute access to it, and they also have special permission. Sorry, this for creator owner. So here you are able to say, why is this particular user, for instance, if under this full control, why is administrators having, maybe it's just one administrator you want to have full rights to that particular drive, then you can change it, you can make the change here, you can revoke the access, you can create a new group and then give access accordingly. You can add a note to update it, maybe for somebody else that is also working on those directories, to pick it up and do what you ask them to do. Seeing the share permission, you can already see it. Limit access, maximum number of users, and all of that. You can see the drive owner, the share owner, and then inheritance. From here, you will see that inheritance is off currently. You can decide to change it and enable inheritance right from here. This is similar to something you will go to maybe your file server from using the enumerator permission to be able to do. Is the same thing cut across everything. Now, what about Teams? This is a Teams that I brought on board, and you are able to see all the Teams channel that has been created and the users that have access to each of those team channels. So as at the time I brought in, I only had one team, which is the organization team, and I can see that 60 people or 60 users are member of this team and have access to the team. So this is how much you can see when it comes to using access right and SolarWinds access right management. You see this multi-select tab. If you select a resource that have multi-part, it's going to show you everything. It's going to show you like this. And if you take note also, for every page that we are, you notice there's a filter. So meaning you can decide to check the type of object that you want to make that query against and be able to see exactly what you want. Then what about you assign a permission to some set of users and you want to be able to compare those permissions that people have. So this is where you will do that. You select the source permission you want to compare, and then we will compare it, select the destination or whatever change has been made. You'll be able to analyze and see maybe more right has been given to that particular user on that particular resource than necessary. And you can also filter. I think because of time, maybe we can schedule another call on this particular topic to take us even further. I would like to stop here. If you have any question, I would like to answer your questions now. Do we have questions, please?
Thank you, Titi, for this insightful session. Now, if you have any questions, kindly raise your hand. Raise your hand in the meeting. Do we have any questions? Hello. Are there any questions before we close today's session?
I think everyone was able to digest this question.
Okay, yes, I guess so as well.
Yeah.
So we're closing out today's session. Thank you all for joining. We'll be having another webinar session on Thursday for our COVID-19 Thursday Tech Talk. The topic is Reimagine Server Management with Windows Admin Center. We look forward to seeing all of you join us on Thursday. The recording for this session will be made available to everyone in attendance, and we hope everyone gets to review it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us in sales@hashem.com, and we'll be ready to answer your questions. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in subsequent webinar sessions. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.